Think big, think positive, never show any sign of weakness. Always go for the throat. Buy low, sell high. Fear, that's the other guy's problem. Nothing you have ever witnessed will prepare you for the absolute carnage you're about to witness. It's Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond.
It's time to take an inside look at those that are taking their lives, their businesses, and their passions to the next level. Get ready to thrive loud with Lou Diamond.
Welcome everyone to another episode of Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond, connecting you to the most inspiring and amazing people that are thriving each and every day. I'm your host, Lou Diamond. Today on Thrive Loud, we have an entertainer, speaker, game show host, and master of ceremonies. He founded his company, Life of the Party Entertainment, in 2007 after spending 3 years in the lovely city of Orlando, Florida, where he worked for Disney, Universal, and Nickelodeon. I'm pretty sure I went there and saw him on stage announcing something. I'm pretty sure. We'll talk about this. He's energizing, exciting, electric, and elevates audiences everywhere. He will make you the first to come on stage and the last to leave the party. Thrive Loud listeners from Salt Lake City, Rob Ferre. Rob, how are you today?
Wow, thank you. That was an amazing introduction. And does anybody ever call you Mr. Phillips? I mean, you're just one away from the La Bamba star. Do you ever get that?
Yeah, if I had a dime. There's a story, but one day he'll be on Thrive Loud to tell it. So we'll awesome. Make sure we do it that way. But yes, but I love introducing great speakers who love to introduce. And that's, I've gotten the chance to see you do little brief stuff on stage. You've got some personality, you've got some vibe, and you got a pretty cool story. I want to know, I want to go way back. I don't want to go way back. I don't want to go to the womb. I want to go to when you kind of said, I got to be in front of people. I got to be on stage. I got to be pumping up the room. When did all that click in? Was that like something you've always been? Were you one of those like kids grabbing the microphone at an early age?
Yeah, it's funny that you say that exact same phrase. I was in second grade. I remember the moment. I was in second grade. It was our elementary school. They had bought tickets for students to go to see a ballet, and it was Cinderella. And I remember sitting in the balcony, like the upper balcony, and we were watching Cinderella, and there were two young boys holding the train of the queen as she walked onto the stage of this ballet. And I leaned over to my friend. I said, wow, they're so lucky. And I thought in my head, I want to do that. And the craziest thing is, a year and a half later, I was on that same exact stage doing a ballet. Now, ballet is not my thing, but being on stage is my thing. And so I look for any opportunity to be on stage. And I did a whole promo shoot maybe 4 years ago on that same exact stage. And it's a very historical theater here in Salt Lake City, Utah, called the Capitol Theater. Mm-hmm. But that's kind of how I've lived my life. I see things and I go, I want to do that. I want to be on that stage. I want to go. I want to do what he's doing. I want to do what she's doing, right? And I'm always inspired by others. And you've had other people on this podcast, like my friends Clint Pulver and Jason Hewlett. And sometimes I see them do certain things and I'm like, ooh, I want to go there. I want to be on that stage. And so I always insert myself into the situation. And I always try and find ways to be on stages, either it be virtual, in person, wherever they may be. Those are the stages I want to be on.
There's being on stage, doing stuff like Jason Hewlett can do, which like 0.00001% of the world can do.
Right.
There's even, Clint's a great another thing. There's people who are musicians, and there are very unique performers who know how to deliver that. You have an interesting skill. You have an ability to pump people up. That's a little different than wanting to be on the stage. Tell me, do you agree with that? And do you think that's kind of your superpower?
Yeah, I never really thought about it that way, but yeah, I think the job that I like doing the most is being an MC. I just completed a multi-day MC event, and I just love bringing energy to an event. And I am now more and more trying to make my audience the stars of the show. And so how do we make the engagement about them and not necessarily me? And so I do a lot of things. Like, I think if I have any type of skill when it comes to emceeing, I can bring to the stage is engagement. And I do it through different ways, through games, through gamification, through dance parties, bringing people up, and even just highlighting people in the audience. And so that's one thing that I really like doing. And so I've used that skill set all throughout my life. Like in high school, I was the super fan. I was always the guy on the front row cheering on my fellow student athletes. And I would bring boom boxes to events and put batteries in it and throw it above my head and play music. I would buy all the Jock Jam series and play these songs. And I was like, and I'm a DJ as well, right? But these were things like I was always trying to find ways to get everybody excited, pumped, and ready for action. And so now that you bring it up, I'm like, yeah. I can always look at the different moments in my life where I stepped onto a stage and I just did something. I remember there was this time in college. There was this DJ on campus, and I jumped onto the stage, and I don't know if he invited me, but I just started freestyling, and everybody followed me, and I just led them in this impromptu dance. And I remember that moment like, wow, that was a lot of fun. And I never really thought about being a DJ. And then same thing happened in Orlando when my mentor met me, Elliot Hansen. I started leading all these college program students who were at Disney in line dances and things like that. And he's like, you're a DJ. Well, you're an entertainer. You're an interactive DJ. And so it's all about engaging people to have fun and to be part of something bigger.
You're like the combination of three people in my head. And I'm going to share them with you right now. One is he's been a guest on the show, and I think you may know him as well. Are you familiar with Doug Sandler? He's the head of the Nice Guys on Business podcast.
No, I'm not familiar with Doug.
Oh, we got to get you on that program. Doug's great. Okay. Doug actually was the one who got me into podcasting, but he also, a little older than you, ran his own entertainment company, was always that. But he loved delivering public speaking, but he also loved the business of podcasting. But that ability I have never in my life seen anybody better on stage and getting an audience into a party, into an event. He's also the greatest Simon Says guy I've ever met in my entire life.
Oh, that's an amazing skill.
Yeah, it's actually scary how good he is. You remind me of me a little bit when you were just describing letting other people shine on the stage and letting other people harness their power. That's something that I do on this platform.
Oh no, I know Doug. Yes, yeah. I know Doug. Yes. And
then you reminded me of Elder Price from Book of Mormon, because you basically went from Salt Lake City to Orlando.
Yeah. So funny story about that musical. I first time I saw it, they did the lottery back in the day in New York City, and I jumped off a plane, met my wife at the lottery. I won the lottery, and so when I got it, and I screamed out to everybody, "I'm from Salt Lake City, and I'm Mormon," and everybody screamed and shouted. It was so funny. But yes, Elder Price that's so great. Like, the only place he wanted to go on his mission was Orlando.
Yeah, it's just classic. I had to bring that all together here.
Yes.
In today's world, where there was a whole year and a half of not a lot of people being on stage. I actually had the good fortune, listeners, to actually seeing Rob be on stage as we started to come back this July. Tell me what this year has been like for you and how you've transitioned the art that you do each and every day.
Yeah, we use that dirty little word pivot, right? But I instead of me saying pivot, I would like to use the phrase expand. And I was able to expand what I do. And how did that work? Well, we were all forced to expand, right? And I was inspired once again by Jason Hewlett and Clint Pulver, who put out these promo videos of their studios. And I was like, what? I need to create my own studio as well. So Clint connected me with his guy. who also helped Jason out, right? And because of that connection, because they were already innovating and leaning into it, I was like, I got to do it as well. And I remember Clint telling me specifically, I believe late March, and he's just like, Rob, I think this is going to last more than a year. I'm like, no. And it did. It lasted a long time. And so because I leaned into it, I was able to build this studio and just start doing free events, just like Jason did. Jason said he did like 50. I was like the same way. I was putting in my time doing events for my NSA chapter, doing free like karaoke parties, free game shows, things like that. And I was able to expand my network because I was doing something that nobody else was doing, and I was able to fill a niche. And I started producing conferences. I was a Zoom producer, MC, game show host, master of ceremonies, all these type of things all rolled into one. So all you had to do was come to me, and I would run your event. And these were smaller events. I didn't do huge events, but it was a lot of fun. And I got connected with different type of planners and different type of agencies. But those were all through my connections through NSA. One of them was Joe Mole. I did an event for Joe Mole, and there were some planners in the virtual audience that said, we need to get Rob. I did an event with Jeff Savilico, and he introduced me to his agents, who got me more events as well. And these are people I'm still working with today. And so, 1, the power of association, 2, leaning in, and 3, just expanding what I was doing and learning more. And now I can take those things that I did in the virtual world in my game shows and things like that and still do it in person and live. And so I'm always trying to insert myself. I see like, ooh, Lou's doing something cool. I want to be a part of that. What's Lou doing these days, you know? And so I'm always trying to reach out to my network and friends and say, how can I support you? How can I help you with this? And they're like, well, you know what, Rob? There is something, right? And so that's how I really lean into what I do today.
I love this. And listeners need to know, he referred to the cool studio he's got set up. Rob's always, I've been a fan of Rob, but now I'm like, he's got a disco ball behind him. It's a real disco ball. And it's got the black background. He's always got this very cool, I want to say salmon colored jacket. Is that, what color would you call it?
I would say, yeah, I thought it was pink, but I think it's salmon.
I think it's salmon.
And the funny, and I can uplight this whole backdrop, but the funny thing about the disco ball is there were people who were doing quarantine karaoke. And I decided to create my own quarantine karaoke, and I set up the disco ball for my first quarantine karaoke. And it's stayed ever since. People have been like, yeah, keep it. I've had some clients say, get rid of the disco ball, and I can. But some people are like, you know what, this is something that you can keep using. And there's a metaphor with a disco ball. I've seen it online where people say a disco ball is a representation of all the times you've been broken and then put back together, right? I've seen that as well. I was like, ooh, wow, that's a great metaphor. But I think the disco ball, for me, it's something different. It's 1,000 projections or reflections of who you are and the world around you.
Oh, I love that. Much better than the millions of pieces put together. Yeah. Definitely.
Right?
So. I think this is one of the cool things, and I'm glad you mentioned about both Jason and Clint. I guess we can call you guys like the Salt Lake City Three Musketeers this year that we've had on this program. The ability to connect to an audience. That's something that in unique ways that both Jason, Clint, and yourself, and I've witnessed this, and I've also know you speak about a lot of this and the way that you engage. You share with your listeners some of the ways and the unique ways that Rob Ferre connects to his audience, whether as the role of as an MC or even more notably as a speaker yourself.
Yeah, so I do have a keynote. It's called Be the First One on the Dance Floor, and this was something I developed with a great mentor of mine, Ty Bennett, who's out here in Salt Lake City as well. Yeah. And it's interesting because a lot of people talk about maybe leadership through their perspective, and my perspective is as an entertainer, as a DJ, and it's kind of weird. People like, oh, a DJ is going to talk to us about leadership? But I often observe and see how people will buy into an idea or scale an idea and make things bigger, but sometimes it takes that first person to get out there to do it, right?
Yeah.
But I also think the most important person is that second person who's validating the one person on the dance floor, that lone fool. So when you watch Seinfeld, you see Elaine on the dance floor, right? And everybody on Seinfeld, like, yeah, she's doing the awkward dance, right? So if you've never seen Seinfeld, she goes to this party and she dances, and everybody looks at her like the lone awkward fool. But if somebody joined her on that dance floor and danced just like her, it's now cool. And there is that moment on this movie called Can't Buy Me Love, where Patrick Dempsey gets onto the dance floor and he starts doing this dance he saw on National Geographic, and he starts dancing like it, and everybody's like, well, if he's doing it, it must be cool. So it really takes more than one person to help create a movement. It takes that second and third follower to buy into that idea and keep going with it. And so that is actually the way I live. And sometimes when I see somebody, there's nobody dancing, I have to get out there. I have to validate the DJ, the band, the performer, right? And that is always the way I live my life. And I'm always trying to get on the front row or be a part of something and be the first one to volunteer, right? If somebody says, hey, I need a volunteer, and it's like awkward, some crickets, right? I'm always that first person, always. Because I want to spark that inspiration, because so people are like, I don't want to be that vulnerable person. And it really takes a lot of courage to go out there, but it also takes a lot of courage to be that second person to say, let's do this together.
I love it. I'm just laughing when you did the Elaine dancing thing.
Right.
Just a shout out to my siblings. When we would go on a dance floor, we would actually spin it into making fun of the movie Airplane, which is that famous scene when there's like they're at the shadiest bar in the world and someone's been stabbed in the back, and the guy's like this and he's pointing it in his back like he's been stabbed, and Elaine is actually imitating him, and the name is also Elaine, which is kind of funny from the Airplane. So they're like doing that dance like it's a good thing.
Forgot about that. Yes, and then the whole disco scene. Yes.
Yes. It's pretty classic stuff.
So good.
The disco ball is just bringing me back into a million different reflections of my own life. See the effect you've had on me with that ball and that analogy?
Yes.
I love asking guests this question, and Rob, I want to see where this is, because a lot of upbeat, positive, put their foot on the dance floor first type people, everyone thinks is, rocking and rolling and positive each and every day. But like everybody else, we all have our down days. Rob Ferre, when you have trouble thriving, what practice do you seek, or which individual do you seek out to get yourself back on the thriving track?
Yeah, that's true. Well, there have been times where I think what happens to people like me, when we feel like we're not thriving, we're comparing. I play that comparison game all the time, right? We're like, oh, I'm so down or whatever. Or we're like, oh, I could be so much better. I'm better than that, right? And we're playing that comparison game. And I think if I can just recenter myself and realize what I have in my life, I think it's all about gratitude and realizing I need to be grateful for what I do have, right? And how can I learn from that experience? And I've had some very tough experiences as an entertainer where I made huge mistakes. And there's a lot of people like, you always hear people say, live life with no regrets. I'm like, I have so many regrets, and I dwell on those regrets, which is probably not a good thing, but I dwell on those regrets so I know that I will not make those mistakes again.
Yeah.
And so I think when it comes to thriving, be grateful for what you have and what opportunities you do have, not for the opportunities that you don't have. And honor the audience that you do have, right? As Jason Hewlett says, keep your promises, right? Even if there. So, like earlier this year, I went to Miami to speak at a huge conference. I was on the last day, the last slot, in the farthest ballroom away. And I prepared and I flew all the way to Miami, and 20 people are in the audience. And I'm like, oh. And I always think in my head, like, what would Jason do, right? WWJD. And I think, what would Jason do in this moment? And I would still honor those 20 people, and I'm not dwelling on the negative. I'm like, ugh, only 20 people. Ugh. There should be at least 200, 300 people in this room that it was set for. But I want to honor those 20 people who took the time to be there. So if I just take a moment, forget about myself, and think about the people I'm serving, I can get back into that thriving mode.
I love it. I've heard a good story about that where actually I saw somebody have that same situation, and it was one of those rooms of like 400 people. So he just like pulled the chairs around into a circle.
Good.
And people kept coming by the room wanting to see what was going on in the circle. And before you knew it, there was like standing room only in like a circle. And he was off the stage, but he was in that group. It was one of the best performers. I'll give that person their shout out if after they give me permission to share that story. So, but it was a cool idea.
Amazing. That's a great idea.
Yeah. Make it about them, which is what he did.
Yeah.
Let's do this. Let's do the admin part of the show. Rob, share where everybody can find you, websites, URLs, links, everything. We'll put it in the show notes. Gets way more engagement when they hear it from you.
Yeah. So go to robferre.com, ROBFERRE.com, and follow me on Instagram at robferre. That's where you can see all my shenanigans. And then, you know what? I'm a LinkedIn guy. Let's link up on LinkedIn and let's have some fun on there as well. I'm always surprised how many people aren't on LinkedIn and don't use that to leverage their network. You can expand your
It's interesting,
network.
right? And it's like the only business solely social thing. Like you don't see cat videos on LinkedIn. It always gets me.
Right.
Totally with you on that. Someone's got to get on that. Microsoft should pay $27 billion for it. Oh, wait. They did. Okay. Ready to go down Fun Street with me, my friend?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, can you share with the listeners, do you have an all-time favorite movie?
So that's a hard thing for me because I like to rewatch. It's hard for me to rewatch movies because I always like to explore something new, something that I've never seen. So it's really hard for me to tell you I have an all-time favorite movie. I can tell you movies that have inspired me and kept me really excited. Like one movie I kept rewatching back in the 90s and into my young adult life was The Saint with Val Kilmer.
With Val Kilmer. I like that movie.
I love that movie so much, but it's a great makeout movie. I'm now with my wife, so I don't do it anymore. But it was such a great movie back in the day, and I loved all the characters in it. I loved the action, and I loved the music. So it's not like my all-time favorite, but I can rewatch that movie over and over again. And I'm telling you now, this is what I'm doing. This is my new project, is I'm going through the Disney Plus animated movies, animated features, and going through all the animated features. Right now I'm on the Jungle Book.
Are you working your way some kind of chronological way or
Yes.
alphabetical way? Okay, let's hear.
Chronological. So you start with Snow White, and
Wow.
then you go to Pinocchio, right? And you
Dumbo.
keep going up. And what's really cool is to see the evolution of these Disney animated features and being able to see how all of them have inspired each other from the one to the next. And I'm a huge Disney fan. We're going to Disneyland in a couple of weeks. Hopefully next year we're going to go to Disneyland Paris. And so it's fun being able just to watch the chronology of these animated movies.
They've done a good shift in the last, going away from the prince hero to the flip-flop where, it's more of their lead features have a female
And everyman.
dominance.
Right.
Yes, exactly. Right. Well, they're getting there. They're catching up, or they're ahead, or whichever way you want to go with it.
Exactly.
All right. So we're going to do the speed round here of Fun Street. This is how this works.
Okay.
Since you're a game show host, I know you'll appreciate it. This is kind of like the fast money round of Family Feud. I haven't surveyed 100 people. I'm just asking you. I'm going to ask you something. I want the first thing that comes to your mind. These are things that lift you up, motivate you, make you feel good, make you thrive. Ready?
Ready.
Of late, and I love asking DJs this question, of late, a song that's kind of like your jam or that you love to play or that pumps you up?
Well, I love to play music that gets a dance floor just electric. And I think one of the newer songs, it's been out almost 12 months now, or 10 months. It's Levitating by Dua Lipa.
Oh, yeah.
And, I got you, moonlight, starlight. And it's just like a really cool jam. And there's this part where she breaks it down and it kind of goes into a cappella-ish. And then she goes, whoa. Like, I love that song so much. And I just love to play it.
Yeah.
And I love to see how it moves the dance floor. And I'm very different from maybe a lot of DJs in the sense that I'm grooving and jamming and like bopping my head to the music behind it. And there's a lot of power being a DJ, and sometimes you could just be very selfish and be like, I love this song, I gotta play it. So that's like my jam of the year. And so
I like it.
Yeah, we'll go with
I
that
think
one.
that might have been the Grammy jam of the year, if I might be correct, because it was up there.
Yeah.
She's
She had an amazing year. She's put out so many great tracks.
Favorite food that's not a dessert?
Oh gosh, that's tough. That's tough. You know, I would say if I had the choice to like eat sushi every day, or you know, or Mediterranean food, like that's the kind of stuff I would love. Like I love pizza, I love tacos, I love burgers, but I actually like healthy food, and I consider sushi healthy-ish.
I think sushi's healthy.
I love sushi.
That
I
works.
love it.
A favorite dessert?
Favorite dessert? I love mint chocolate chip ice cream. I love it. Right. It's just, it goes good. But I also like a good vanilla with raspberries. Love
Any
that.
brand of ice cream that you like over others?
Yeah, so there's this one here in Utah. It's called Fat Boy ice cream. And
So
as a child, they made these sandwiches, ice cream sandwiches. They're the best ice cream sandwiches in the world. They're called Fat Boys. And as a child, I would always dream that the sidewalks would be bricks of Fat Boy ice cream. And I could grab a brick and eat it. Like, I was like, in my perfect world. You know, like Candyland? You know Candyland?
Yep, totally.
You could right. That would be my Candyland. Like that the bricks of the sidewalks and the roads were made of bricks of Fat Boy ice cream.
Kind of like it's like you're the Willy Wonka of Salt Lake City. I think that's what I'm imagining right now. I could see it. An activity you wish you did more of?
You know, I really wish I enjoyed working out. I don't really like working out. It's just not my thing. But when ski season comes around, I love that. I hate getting up in the morning. I hate putting on the gear, but once I'm on the mountain, it's amazing. So that's like one of the things I wish I could do year round. You can't here in Utah, but I wish I would hike more or even lift weights. Like, I just don't like that. It just doesn't stimulate me as much, but I enjoy it when I do it. It's just getting the motivation to do it.
Perfect. An activity you wish you did less of?
Probably watch news. Like, I like to be informed, but I watch way too much news, and it just kind of bogs down. But there are days where I'm like, I didn't watch any news today. I should feel good about that. And the other activity is read more. I'm not a very good reader, so I listen to Audible books. So that helps me a lot as well.
Rob Ferre, if I were to snap my fingers and you can go anywhere in the world, where are you?
As cheesy as it sounds, I would like to be at Disney Seas in Tokyo. Tokyo Disneyland. It's like the #1 rated Disney theme park. Like, I want to go there with my wife right now. If we could be at Disney Seas in Tokyo, it's just like, it's something that we share together, and I think it brings out the best in her. I'm very neurotic. I like to go on all the rides and try and do them as fast as we can. So we bought a Disney Disneyland annual pass. So we're really excited because we're going to do this more leisurely, where we can enjoy the day and see me going, let's go. And she's like, I'm hungry. I'm like, it doesn't matter. We need to get in line, right? That's where a little bit of our conflict. But if I could do that, I would love just to be in Tokyo right now and just experiencing new cultures, new experiences. Like, that for me is life, experiencing the world.
Rob, last question. You have lived in Orlando, working in some pretty cool parks. You live in Salt Lake, another amazing city. What do you miss most about Orlando?
Orlando. You know, I lived there for 3 years.
To get you to sing it.
I'm not a very good singer. I tell people I got my MFE, which was my Master's of Family of Entertainment. What I loved about Orlando, it's like theme park central. There was always something to do. Hey, do you want to go to Disney? Do you want to go to Universal? Do you want to go to SeaWorld? Do you want to go to International Drive and go miniature golfing? That's what I miss about Orlando. There was always something to do. Or you could go to a resort and just watch fireworks. You guys want to watch fireworks tonight? Let's go watch fireworks. There's fireworks happening anywhere and everywhere in that town. So I miss that vibe and being around just the energy of the theme parks. I don't really miss tourists. But I
even though you could be one, but I totally get you.
Right. but I miss that energy.
Mr. Rob Ferre, such a pleasure to have you on Thrive Loud. Disco ball and all. Keep getting people on the stage, get up first and get that other person to follow. But man, hopefully everyone's following your lead. Keep
Thank you so much.
moving onward and upward, my friend. You're killing it.
I appreciate it. It's been a pleasure to be on the pod.
You got it, my friend. And to all our listeners out there, thank you for joining us. And until next time, keep moving onward and upward. And remember, be brief, be bright, be gone.
You're my starlight, I need you all night. Come on, dance with me. I'm levitating. You can fly away with me tonight. You can fly away with me tonight. Baby, let me take you for a ride. Yeah, 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 yeah. I'm levitating. You can fly away with me tonight.
You've been listening to Thrive Loud with your host, Lou Diamond. Check us out on the web at thriveloud.com and follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook at Thrive Loud. And check us out on the Good Pods app at Thrive Loud, where you can follow, listen, and connect directly to Lou and all of the Thrive Loud episodes. Thanks for listening.